There's the waning full moon setting. And we're at dawn this morning here in Magdalene at the Sea of Galilee. And it's quite hazy. Allow me just to set this a little bit. I hope the phone doesn't jump out of the holder. I better leave well enough alone. It's not really well enough, but it's a little off balance. We'll live with that for today. So we're doing this early, as I sent out the word on the WhatsApp group, because I have a baptism renewal again this morning here at the Sea of Galilee, starting at 6:15. So with the later sunrise now, little by little, we'll soon be 2 months after the summer solstice. It's amazing. Today we're on the 12th. Another good week, 10 days. We'll be 2 months away from the summer solstice. So the days are getting a little shorter. Sun is rising a little later. And thank you for coming along nevertheless in this earlier rise today. And I thought I would do the Facebook first, because in these special occasions I often do the Instagram first, but the Instagrammers wouldn't get any little sign of the redder dawn. I'm not sure how much we'll get given the amount of haze. But there's always a sunrise with the scriptures, and there's always a sunrise with each person as we wake up in the morning. A sunrise for the family, for the neighborhood, for the world, because each person who wakes up in the morning and hears the birds singing God's praises will join in. And every human being singing God's praises is a sunrise for the world, for the whole of humanity. So there's quite an interesting spiritual thread in the readings today. I find it stimulating. And maybe it's to do with a misunderstanding of childhood. And vis-a-vis a 120-year-old man, yesterday I was with guests, and this man is in his mid-80s, and his mother passed away 4 to 5 years ago at 100. So this man is 120. His name is Moses. You've heard of him. And we're coming gradually to the end of his story, because we're in chapter 31 of Deuteronomy, and there are about 3 more chapters left to give account of his role in the history of salvation that God wanted, that God gave him. And that's something he never forgot, or he never neglected, that God gave it to him. He had his moments, striking the rock twice when he was told to speak to the rock and not strike it. He had his moments. He had his moments of frustration with what he called a stiff-necked, hard-hearted people. But he really always lived, and that's like one of the greatest things about all these prophets and spiritual leaders, living in God's presence and being aware of God's doings. There's a predator bird there staying aloft with mighty wing action and waiting for a prey to become visible and swoop down. And they live in God's presence in a very special way, and that's also a concept, the primary concept that Jesus lays for the childhood, the spiritual childhood. We live in a culture that really esteems independence, and we are kind of trained to aspire to independence, to autonomy, that we name ourselves, that we name everything, that we are the reference point, self-referentially establishing everything in our lives, founding what we are supposed to be and to do, But we actually receive everything as given. The way we are created, the time in history that we're created. We can't live in the 17th century or in the time of Moses. We're living today in the 21st century. And Moses wasn't asked to live in this time to do a task in this time. We are. And he had a role of leadership in this time, and today we have, in the way we treat each child. Because the way we treat a child is not just that child's future development, but it affects our society immediately today, because people see how a child is supposed to be welcomed and treated and respected. And to be childlike doesn't mean to be naive and to be unwitty and to not understand the workings of the world. We live in our time. We live in a whole series of dynamics, and not to develop an understanding of the world in which we live and the conditions in which people live would be to be irresponsible, because then, not knowing how people live and their situation, how can I serve them? How can I do my corresponding role? How can I discern the gift that has been given and entrusted to me so that I can take care of those entrusted to my care? And that's also part of the big formula, that it's not just our dependence on God that's key to spiritual maturity, a great sense of that dependence on God, a great sense of being blessed by God with the gift of life and his providence to develop my life and his company, that I am absolutely not alone, but also we're in the context of a community. And that community is providing me with a lot of goods, a language, a culture, not just goods like a new telephone or a new garment, clothing, another piece of food from a different continent. Those are nice, but they're bigger goods, like culture, education. How many people are involved in our education? And we think of people doing doctorates in the interconnected world in which we live, and the sourcing of information and studies and the collaborative studies and investigation and research. And we actually live that way, but in our hearts we also disconnect a lot from our community, from our family, from our parents, from our siblings. There's a healthy space where in which we operate, but there should be extraordinary bonds of affection and love and support and interest and encouragement and stimulus one to another. And that's childhood. That's mature childhood. Childhood is a spiritual state of living in God's presence, and Joshua is going into the promised land, and the big lesson Moses delivers is, don't leave God's presence. God is the one that's going to do everything for you. That doesn't mean you don't have to do anything, but it means that your primary trust is that God is the one doing it. But so many times people today are in depression. They're disconnected, and that's not a statement of responsible guilt. It could be, but that's not the issue. When we don't have God's company, we can enter an extraordinary period of negativity. And that's not to exclude the spiritual cases of extraordinary mystics who go through the dark night of the soul. Maybe a taste of that path we all go through in one way or another, where we feel an aloneness. And that's also a step to spiritual maturity, because there we realize that we're made for company. And not just for any company, not just for a cat or a dog, but actually for God himself. Our heart is restless until it rests in you, O Lord. So we have these wondrous, marvelous lines today. Just let me see if I can get this for you. I had it open and it closed, but I think I have it open again now, thanks be to God. And we go to the Psalm actually, which gives us another angle and a beautiful motivation and stimulus. The portion of the Lord is his people. And maybe that's what we are missing sometimes in our world, where we glorify that other things instead of people and God himself. Our portion is the Lord, and our portion is our family. Our portion are our workmates where we work, our friends, our neighborhood. That's our portion. I can pray for the people in a different country. I can pray for the people at great need and suffering in different places. But my contribution today is when I come out through the checkout at a supermarket and help somebody whose package fell, not rush somebody at an intersection with my blowing the horn, they call it, what do they call it in the States? I don't remember. Honking the horn. So I don't have to honk everywhere, except at celebrating a victory or a birthday or whatever, a marriage. People honk a little bit for marriage, a newly wedded couple. To be part of a community, to not to be disconnected, and to realize all the gifts I received through my parents, my siblings, and just the affection and love I receive. And that's not quantifiable, and it's not a payable, it's not a credit card issue, it's the credit of life. Credit, to give credit, to acknowledge, to reciprocate, to respond. And that's what we're made for. People, God bless you. May these readings stimulate you today as you grow in your life and mature. And we might have a special sunrise tomorrow as well, because I have certain special circumstances tomorrow, which you'll discover tomorrow at the sunrise stroll and chat, God willing. But I'll let you know on the WhatsApp group. See you later, alligators.